feel like sometimes when we experience feelings of low self-worth, it's easy for us to continue on in those negative mindsets despite attempts to recalibrate that mindset or readjust to a better idea of ourselves. Because the bad opinion feels more quote unquote right. And the reason why it feels more right is because we see evidence around us to support this. And also, and this is the key thing I feel like, is that we're used to that mindset. And because we are not necessarily comfortable with it, because it's certainly not comfortable to have low self-worth, we are familiar with the terrain. And so we know how to interpret all of the signals in that terrain already. And although they may well be very unpleasant, they are part of the familiar program, the accepted, this is what happens in this terrain. There's not going to be any new horrible shocks for the most part in this. It's a safer place because we have to sort of numb ourselves to be able to survive it. So, if you're numb, then that provides a modicum of false sense of security. So, like, that doesn't mean, though, that because it's familiar to us, that it is actually accurate. And our ability to interpret the evidence that we have to support this low self-opinion is not necessarily accurate, because since we have the closed-off perspective of the self-opinion being low, we don't have access to a lot of the outside channels that being empowered and feeling confident would afford us. So I wanted to say that, like, it feels strange to step away from that low self-opinion. But a big part of it, I think, is having something to put in that void, in that hole, that you can believe in. Because having a low self-opinion, your ability to believe in things is diminished to a great extent. It's easy to look at things that are all happy and sunny and be like, well, that's fake, that's bullshit, because whose life is like that, or whatever. So the idea is not to, I'm going to hold on to this lofty ass ideal that I can't really believe in at this point because I'm beaten down. Find a thought that is maybe not that high, not that lofty, but is elevated from where you are now. Find a thought about yourself that you can co-sign, that you can get behind, that you can believe in, that will be something that you can hang on to in that liminal space, that interim period, while you're recalibrating and opening up your awareness to all the other evidence that exists out there, the evidence that counters all the evidence that supports that your low self-opinion is correct, because the low self-opinion is not correct. The low self-opinion has been projected onto you, and then you have found reasons within yourself to give support to that argument because it was something that was overwhelming to your system at the time it was projected onto you. You had no defense against it. You weren't able to fend that off or counter it with any good, clear information that wasn't tainted by whatever traumatic forces or extemporaneous bullshit incepted that whole projection. But, excuse me, I feel like that's probably a thing. Okay, now that's the hook where we pull you off stage, lady. You made your point, now you're done. So anyway, those are just some thoughts about low self-opinion. You shouldn't have one, because the thing is, it hurts to have a low self-opinion. And you know why? Because that's your soul saying, ouch, that's bullshit. That's not who you are. Because your soul knows who you are. And I guess your 3D self needs to know that as well. That you're a valuable person and that you've had a lot of bullshit put on you that was incorrect, and it was put on you at a time when you had no way to defend yourself, and it sort of became a ghost in the machine. And it's time to exercise that motherfucker. Burn some rosemary or some sage if you need to, but exercise that motherfucker and get it out of you, because it's not true. You are a worthy human being, and you're loved. And I hope you have a fabulous day.